Hey, friend, Chris here from MyLogicProRules.com, the website that helps you get the most you can out of Apple's Logic Pro. Welcome to video number 7 in our ongoing series all about getting started with Atmos in Logic. In today's video, we're going to explore multi-channel surround plugin processing that can be applied to just about any track or channel strip in your Atmos project, as long as that track or channel strip is using the surround panner or surround balancer. So surround plugin processing that can be used on surround tracks and channel strips, as well as mono and even stereo tracks and channel strips. In the case of mono and stereo tracks, these plugins will convert and even expand the channel strip count from 1 or 2 channels up to 10 in total. On top of that, we're going to dig into multi-mono effect plugins. So in the case that you have surround tracks and channel strips in your Atmos project and you want to apply a particular plugin effect to that channel strip, but there's no surround version of that plugin for you to use, well, Logic offers the ability to open Logic plugins, third-party plugins, as a multi-mono instance. So basically a surround plugin that you can customize based on the different outputs that you want to apply processing to. So we're going to dig into all of that in today's video. But before we do, I have to shout out the sponsor of this series, which is IK Multimedia. Now, I've said with each one of these videos throughout the series, and you're going to hear it for the rest of the series, that IK has been so awesome and so supportive of this Atmos series on Wide Logic Per Rules. They're doing me way more of a favor than I'm doing them. I can guarantee you that. And with each one of these videos, I've said that this bundle of speakers that they sent along on loan to help me out, the iLoud MTM Immersive Bundle, I've said is awesome. It's fantastic. It sounds great. I love it. And I'm not just saying that. I really mean it. I think this speaker bundle of 11 of the very popular iLoud MTM speakers from IK is fantastic. It does sound awesome. I don't want to send it back to them. I really don't. But the iLoud MTM Immersive Bundle is great because, number one, it's a very budget-friendly package. I mean, compared to what else is out there in terms of the speakers, for the amount of speakers that you need for an Atmos setup and the tech that's built in, I mean, just look around and compare the pricing. It's quite a bit more expensive with other manufacturers. On top of that, these speakers are light and small and can be mounted on something as simple as a microphone stand thanks to the built-in threading in each speaker, and I've done that in my own studio. It's been super simple. And thanks to the built-in ARC technology, you can tune each speaker to your space, so what you're hearing from the speakers is something you know you can trust. So I'll include a link in the description below, as well as in this video, that will take you to the iLoud MTM Immersive Bundle page on the IK website if you want to learn more all about this speaker setup. All right, multi-channel surround effect processing for your Atmos productions. Don't forget that headphones are required for listening to all audio examples throughout the series from this project, since we're listening to the Dolby binaural renderer from the Dolby Atmos plugin in Logic Pro. The binaural renderers are specifically for headphone playback and will not render effectively on studio monitors, your Mac's built-in speakers, or anything other than a pair of headphones. To explore multi-channel surround effects for your Atmos projects, we have to kind of dissect how Logic allows you to adapt the channel format of your channel strips on the fly, whether it be by adapting the input section of each channel strip or by adapting the channel format on a per plugin basis. To keep things straightforward, I'm going to load a new audio track into my project. And from here, I'll copy this synth region onto this brand new track and channel strip. So I'm going to use Control and S to solo this synth right here. We'll zoom in so we can get a better look at what's going on. And we're going to focus our attention on this channel strip for audio 54. I'll just call this example synth for now. So as you can tell by looking at the channel format at the top in the input section of this audio channel strip, at the moment we're working with a mono channel strip. And the surround panner also lets us know that this is a mono channel strip because we only see a single puck and no left and right pucks for the left and right sides of a stereo channel strip. So if we press play, take a listen. Our synth plays back in mono, so we're basically hearing it from one location that is the center channel of our surround format. So if we open the level meter on the master channel strip, take a listen again. There it is, our synth playing back out of only one output. Now we can adapt the channel format for this audio channel strip just by clicking on the circle icon in the input section. Now our channel strip has been converted from mono to stereo. We see not only the puck for the center location of this stereo channel strip, but the left and right indicators as well, so we know which output channels the left and right sides of the stereo track will be playing out of. All right, now listening back, we know that this synth track is actually in stereo. It's not a mono track, as we hear sound distinctly from the left and right hand sides. But we can also convert our channel strip from mono to stereo to just the left side, or just the right side, or convert this channel strip to surround. If we take a listen and a look now, now our synth is playing basically at equal level across all output channels, including the height channels. If we take a look in the project browser by pressing key command F, we can see more info about our file here by dragging on the boundary for our 1980s synth. And we can see in the info column these interlocking circles that indicate to us a stereo file. So if we select this guitar track and region, we can see the project browser has updated to show us the selected region underneath the selected file, and we can see it's in stereo. Cool, so let's set this synth back to stereo. Now, one of my favorite things in Logic Pro is that you can adapt the channel format of a track and channel strip on the fly using plugins. So for example, our channel strip is set to stereo. If we load a brand new plugin, such as the channel EQ, we can load this channel EQ either in stereo or dual mono. However, if I hold Option and click, go back to the channel EQ, I now have the option to convert this stereo channel strip to mono. And if we take a listen, and from there we can further adapt. So I could go right back to the plugins here, and maybe we could set using a delay plugin from mono to stereo. Now, I bring all of this up because certain plugins in Logic Pro and third-party plugins allow you to adapt the channel format from mono or stereo to an expanded multi-channel count of 7.1.2. For example, if we go down to the reverbs, Space Designer is one such plugin. Cool, so now if we take a listen and a look, all right, so now this synth has been converted from stereo to mono, back to stereo, and to an expanded count of 7.1.2. And now our synth is playing back to just about all the channels in our surround format. Now, not all plugins allow you to do this. For example, if we open a third-party plugin after Space Designer, and if we go down to perhaps FabFilter, I know for a fact that certain FabFilter plugins can be opened in larger channel counts such as 7.1.2 as well as 7.1.4. So I can open the Pro L limiter after Space Designer, but I cannot open an instance of the Pro L in an expanded channel count before Space Designer. Because before this instance of Space Designer, the channel strip is considered stereo, and these FabFilter plugins that offer multi-channel versions such as the Pro L and Pro Q don't offer a way to convert from stereo to an expanded channel count. But other third-party plugins such as Sound Particle's Awesome Energy Panner does. And this plugin's so cool, we should actually get rid of some of these plugins so you can hear it. And I'll set it to sliding, and we'll watch this pan around the room. That is pretty awesome. I love that plugin. Now, it's all worth pointing out that this is only possible with surround panners and surround balancers. So if we convert this particular channel strip to a 3D object, I can't even do it right now because of the fact that the energy panner is in use, converting this channel strip to a surround channel strip. So if I get rid of energy panner, now click on the output section, I can set this to a 3D object. And now if I try to load an instance of Space Designer, I only get the option of stereo or dual mono. Or if it were a mono channel strip, I would only have mono or to stereo. But no 7.1.2 because 3D objects can be only either mono or stereo. We convert this to surround. We lose the 3D object panner. And I can't go back and reselect it. Now, the other detail that we should talk about before digging into multi-channel effects and multi-mono effects is the surround balancer. And as you can see, because the input section of this channel strip has been set to surround, we have, instead of a surround panner, we have what is called the surround balancer. And by double-clicking on the panner, of course, we get an expanded surround balancer window with which we can use to fine-tune our surround balancing for the synth. Now remember, with the surround panner, if we hone in on this original version of the synth, if we disable any of the output channels by clicking on the speaker icons, Logic will reconfigure playback of this channel strip to the remaining output channels. So if we have the level meter here, and I'll bypass all the effects for now, take a look and a listen at what happens. Logic is reconfiguring the playback of the synth with the remaining channels we have available for playback. So I'll set this back. With the surround balancer, Logic doesn't offer us the ability to pan the sound to different output channels. Instead, we get to choose how much of each output channel we want to hear during playback. So we're not panning, we're just balancing how much of one output channel we want to hear as compared to another. So if we take a look and a listen, so we're just telling Logic, hey, I want to hear more of the center channel as opposed to the rear channels or any of the other channels. As you move the puck around, you're just letting Logic know I want to hear more of this side and less of this side. And if we bypass any output channel, watch this. By disabling each of these output channels, Logic doesn't reorganize the playback of the synth to the other output channels. All we're doing is turning off the channel. All right, with that out of the way, let's dig into some actual multi-channel effects. And we're going to use the original synth here. And I've sent this synth using bus 39 to an instance of Space Designer. And Space Designer is set as a 7.1.2 plugin, as you can see right here. What's so great about Space Designer is that it provides a number of surround spaces for you to use in your Atmos projects, from various surround rooms, halls, indoor spaces, as well as outdoor spaces. Taking a look at Space Designer, we have extended control of the balance of our sound in this particular space, whether it be from bottom to top, front to rear, the center channel, as well as the LFE to the reverb. So let's take a listen, both before and after. I'll bypass the send. We'll take a listen to the synth. And after, including this reverb. So it's pretty loud at first, and then I reduced the volume, but we can see that this reverb is playing around across just about all the channels in the surround format. So if we solo the reverb itself, I'm just going to use Option and click on the S. And if we take a listen, I'll Press Ctrl and S to unsolo just this one region. If we take a listen and a look, this particular synth is playing through Space Designer at all the output locations. Now, we can play around with the balance in Space Designer using these sliders. So if we boost this slider for bottom to top to 1, take a look at the meters right over here. We can see that we've adjusted the balance of the sound to the top of the room. We also have the center channel that we can adjust its balance. Playing with the front to rear control can make adjustments to the height balance as well. So moving this sound within Space Designer closer to the rear reduces what we hear in the heights. So we set this back to about 50% between top and bottom. We move the sound within Space Designer to the front, to the rear, and in between. We can balance the sound to play out of only the bottom lateral channels and none of the top. So perhaps I really want this reverb to be in the front of the room, but I don't want to include the side channels. Well, we can just double click on the surround balancer and we can bypass those mid channels. And of course, we can reintroduce or reduce the center channel. And any combination in between using both Space Designer as well as the surround balancer. The one other slider that we should focus on is the LFE to the reverb. So what this means exactly, if we bring everybody back, we'll set that to 50%, 50%. If we open the panner for our synth, we can see that the level to the LFE of the surround bed is set to mute. And I've done this for my entire project. I haven't used the LFE at all in this project. But perhaps we want to send some of this synth or a bass or a kick or anything to a dedicated sub. If we go back to the synth without the reverb, you can see that I'm sending the synth now to the LFE. If we go back to the reverb, let me make sure to just enable the send. Now, if we make any adjustments to the LFE level, we won't hear any changes in the reverb. So we don't hear any change if we set the slider from the LFE to the reverb to full blast. Let's take a listen again. Nothing seems to have changed. However, if we set our send from the synth to the reverb, from post fader to post pan, take a listen and a look now. All right, now the LFE signal from our surround panner from the synth is being passed along now to Space Designer, and we're hearing the room get more excited as a result. And this can be controlled both from the LFE level and the LFE to reverb. All right, so let's bring our attention back to the synth right here. Let's unsolo every other track. And now let's explore multi-mono effect plugins. As I stated at the top of this video, not every plugin in Logic Pro or third-party plugin offers you a version of that plugin beyond just mono or stereo. For example, once again, if we take a look at the channel EQ in Logic Pro, there is no 7.1.2 version to open for a surround channel strip. Instead, we can open a multi-mono version of the channel EQ. Multi-mono plugins allow us to customize our processing on a per output channel basis. So if you want to be able to customize the height channel EQ versus the rear channel EQ versus the front channels, you can. To do this, we click on the menu button right at the top here of the plugin window. And from here, the view changes, offering us the ability to group output channels together or completely separate output channels. For example, we could have the left, center, and right output channels all part of group A. And we could set the mid channels to group B, and then the rear channels to group C, and then the height channels to group D. And the LFE is not part of any group, so it has its own tab, at which point we can EQ the left, right, and center channels separate from the surround channels, separate from the rear channels, separate from the heights and LFE. Let's take a look and a listen as I make some adjustments. Interesting. If we now open the level meter, I'll use the one on the master channel strip. If we take a listen to the before and after, what I basically have done is removed all the low-end information from the height channels, so we only get a little bit of height and sparkliness on occasion. Then I removed some high-end information from the side channels. Then I was even more aggressive, removing high-end from the rear channels. And if we open an instance of a multi-channel gain plugin, we can mute various channels to hear what we're working with at different locations. Those are the heights. Here are the surrounds. Okay, the rears. And then the front of the room. And once again, as you can see, you can do just about anything related to multi-channel effects, regardless if the channel strip itself is a surround channel strip or mono or stereo. All right, I'll see you for more in part 8 of our Atmos series here on Wide Logic Pro Rules. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.